Greetings, ACT fans. All right, so this is week 2 packet, and it's just again covers different algebra topics. So let's get started. All right, let's cursor down here a little bit. All right, number 1. This is a problem where you really don't need to type it into your calculator here. Couple things. First of all, if I look at it, I see a negative, a negative, and a negative. 3 negatives, that's going to make it negative. So you pretty much eliminate this guy, and this guy. Okay, that's awesome. Eliminating 3 things. Even if I didn't want to do the problem, at least I know now the problem is negative, and I know it's either A or B. All right. And again, this is pretty easy, right? It's just like 4 times 1/4 is 1, 5 times 1/5 is 1. So since it's negative, it's just going to be -1. All right. So sometimes you don't want to necessarily write. People tend to write things out a lot. If you understand it, if you can do it in your head a little bit, it's faster than writing it out. Like for example, number 2. It says -1 times -9 times +5 times -11. So once again, I know this answer is going to be negative. All right. So that pretty much takes those 2 out. Do I really need to type in -1 anymore? I don't need to type in these negatives in my calculator. I don't even need to type in 1 because it's easy. 1 times anything is that same thing. So I'm just going to type in my calculator. Literally, I'm just going to do this in my head. That's 45. So I'm going to type in 45 times 11. That's all I'm going to do in my calculator. Okay, and that gives me 495. And then, of course, because it's negative, it's -495. All right. So again, if you can skip a couple steps, do a couple things in your head, every little second helps. Okay, if you save a second on a few problems, then at the end you might have an extra minute to work on the last problem. All right. Okay, so the next one, it's tough to put this in your graphing calculator. I know, first of all, it's going to be positive, so this one's out of here. So at least eliminate 1. And then I'm going to put in my calculator, it's again hard to put in 4.5, but I'm going to do 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So 9 halves times 5 ninths times 6, 7, 8 thirds. All right, now if you want to type that all in your calculator, that's great. I didn't even have to write this down if I didn't want to. All right, I can see that cancels out, and I get 5 halves times 8 thirds. You can type that in your calculator. A lot of the earlier you can type it in your calculator, basically the more you can do in your head, and the less you type in your calculator, the faster you're going to get your answer. All right, so if I multiply all that out, I actually, and then just hit enter equals, I get 6.6667. All right, and really it gets rid of these 2. Now, it could be none of the above, but unless you understand 2/3, and if you want to type that in your calculator, 2/3 is 0.6667, repeating. So that's why the answer to that one is B. Okay? All right, which of the following must be negative? Again, this is really an easy problem. The sum of 2 negative numbers, that's the only one it can actually be, because the product and the quotient of 2 negative numbers become positive. So the answer is A. All right. Number 5. Once again, I don't need to necessarily write everything out. I can just say 8 times 3 is 24. And on the bottom, 9 minus 5 is 4. So it's 6. And that's your answer. Okay. Number 6. A squared plus B squared. So it's basically, again, I could write it 5 squared, and I could write 3 squared, or cubed, I'm sorry. Then why not just do it? 5 squared, 25. B cubed, so 3 cubed, 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. So my answer is 52. Okay? Number 7. If A is 5, B is 3, evaluate 48 minus, and again, this might not be a bad thing to put in your calculator, right? You do 48 minus, and then again, do you need to do 6 times 5? No. How about just 30? And then B squared, so plus 9. Right? That's not that bad to do that on your calculator. So 48 minus 30 is 18. 18 plus 9 is 27. didn't even do it with my calculator. All right, next one. If A is -3, B is 4, C is -5, then the product of A, B, C is how much greater than the sum of A, B, and C? Well, again, you're comparing. If I multiply this together, I get 3 times 4 is 12, 12 times 5 is 60, and it's positive. So it's 60, and how much greater is that than the sum of these? So -3 plus 4 is 1, 1 minus 5 is -4. So how much greater is this one than this one? Now people tend to do this. They say, oh, well, 60 minus 4, and they give me an answer of 56, which, by the way, is right there. Okay, but you need to realize that if you look at a number line, if this is 60 and this is -4, to get to 0, isn't that 60? And then to go another 4, so your total is 64. That's how much greater it is than the sum of that. All right, be careful, because I could ask you just reverse. I could say how much greater is the sum, and then you'd have to say -4 minus 60. All right, so mathematically this is just saying 60 minus, so it's the big number minus the small number. 60 minus -4, which is 64. Okay, all right, let's move on here. All right, number 9, the statement. So this is some application problems. Okay, so again, it's good to read the helpful notes on top of this worksheet, guys, just to kind of help you out. But all right, let's go here. The statement: a number n increased by twice another number. So number n increased, which is plus, by twice another number b. So by 2b is equal to 18. That's it translated. So it's going to be B. Okay. Number 10, the product of 3. Product means multiplication. So 3 and a number n decreased by 15. So you're decreasing it by 15, and then of course that is A. Pretty easy, right? Number 11, the sum of 4 and a number n all divided by 5. So sum means plus, all divided by 5. Oop, this should be 5. Sum of 4 and a number. There we go. God, sorry. Okay, sum of 4 and a number divided by 5. So it's just 4 plus n divided by 5. That's C. All right. Okay, number 12. A number n equals, so a number n equals 7 more than half the number. So a number n equals 7 more than half the number. Okay, and so that is going to be E. Okay, pretty easy to translate, right? Okay, this next one, total factoring problem. All right, so you should recognize the top is difference of two squares, so you're going to say m minus x and m plus x over, I can factor an m out of there, m times m plus x. So the m plus x is cancel, and you have m minus x over m. Again, do I need to rewrite it again? No, I don't need to rewrite it again. It's there, so the answer is B. All right, you guys should recognize the top right here. Cannot factor that. It's not a difference of two squares, and you can't have a sum of two squares to factor. So there's no simplifying. That's why this is none of these. Okay. All right, practice problem set E. So if you, for number 1, you kind of recognize that this is Celsius to Fahrenheit. If you recognized it, it's actually a really fast problem, because how many degrees Celsius is 32 Fahrenheit? It's 0. Or you can just put the 32 into here. 32 minus 32, 0. 5 9 times 0 is 0. Okay? A is 3, B is 4. Find C if C is equal to the square root of A squared plus B squared. Again, if you recognize Pythagorean triple, you would see that this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. If you didn't know that, you put 3 squared in is 9, 4 squared is 16, 9 plus 16 is 25, square root of 25 is 5. Okay? Number 3, S is 3, T is 2, then find W. So again, do you really need to write everything out? I don't think so. T cubed is 2 times, or 2 cubed is 8. So 8 times 3 is 24. That's pretty easy. And on the bottom, s plus t. So 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So I didn't have to do anything in a calculator. Just 24 over 25. All right. Number 4, using the formula L is equal to that. Find D if L is 22. So you're just kind of substituting it in. So I'm going to do 22 equals A, which is 7, plus N is 6. I'm not going to write 6 minus 1. I'm just going to say 5. 5D. Move the 7 over. Once again, do you really need a minus 7 underneath everything? Just subtract 7 and get 5D is equal to 15. And then divide both sides by 5. D is 3. Okay? Minimal writing down if you can help it. When the problems get tougher, then it's a different story. Okay, number 5. So what I'm going to do with number 5 here, math fans, is I'm just going to get rid of these fractions. I got a 1/2, 1/4, and a 3/2. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4. My lowest common denominator, that gives me 2w minus 1 is equal to 6. Because the 4 and the 2 cancel, so the 4 becomes a 2. 2 times 3 is 6. And then add 1, so 2w equals 7. So w is 7/2, which is 3.5. All right. Number 6, solve for t. We're going to cross multiply. So you get 4t. I'm just going to write it out quickly here, actually. 4t plus 8 is equal to 5t minus 10. All right, and then I'm going to subtract 4t to both sides, so I just get t on this side, and this one I'm going to add 10, I get 18. That's the fastest way to go. So the answer is E. Okay, same thing with this one. Cross multiply, so we get 60. 5 times 12 is 60. 60x is equal to 6. Divide by 60, I get 1/10. Okay, so let's keep going here. Number 8, same idea. I'm going to cross multiply. I get 3e plus 12 is equal to e minus 2. Subtract e, I get 2e. Subtract 12, I get negative 14. So e is negative 7. So it's A. Okay, what is a larger solution to the equation? So this is factoring. All right, you could use polysymult if you know how to use it in your calculator, which I have a video on. If you don't know how to use it, you got to factor by hand. All right, can't really teach you how to factor because that's like a couple weeks worth of knowledge. Hopefully you remember. So 5x minus 1, x plus 2 is equal to 0. So if I solve each one of these, I get x equals 1/5 and x equals negative 2. It says which is the larger solution because it has both a and 1/5, and 1/5 is the larger solution because it's greater than 0. Okay, so the answer is C. Okay, so number 10, if the solutions of the equation 2x squared plus kx minus 8 equals 0 are x equals 1/2 and negative 8, then k equals. So here's the deal. If those are the solutions, then I can plug those values into my equation as x and solve for k. Now 1/2 is kind of a complicated one to plug in, but boy, negative 8 is really not that bad. So think about it. If I plug in negative 8 into the equation for x, negative 8 squared is 64. 2 times 64 is 128. And then it's minus, because k is x is negative 8, so it's minus 8 k minus 8 equals 0. Okay, and then just solve for k. So I get basically 120 minus 8k, and so I'm going to move the 8k over. I get 8k equals 120, and divide by 8, so k comes out to be 15. Okay. Number 11, which of the following is a factorization of the polynomial? Now here, this is kind of a cheesy problem, math fans, because if you guys were taking a test from me, none of these would be correct because I didn't take out a greatest common factor first. But that's just what it is. They didn't necessarily take your greatest common factor out, and so I'm going to leave that in there, and but it makes it more complicated to factor. So here's the deal. Let's kind of think about it logically. Do you guys agree that, first of all, the 2x squared, it's got to be a 2x and an x. This one doesn't work, by the way, A, because 2 times, if you distribute this 2 and this 8, that's negative 16, and I need a negative 8x. Okay, so A is out of there. So then again, I say, well, it has to multiply to give me 24, and this one does not, because that's 12, and this one does not, because that one's negative 12. All right, so they don't give me negative 24. And then I look at the next one. Boy, B and D, those are my 2 top choices here. If I look the outside and inside in FOIL, it's 2x times 6 is 12x. 12x minus 4x is 8x. I need negative 8x. So basically what you're doing is you're flip-flopping the signs, which that's why it would give me the answer of D. And if you double check it, you could see 2x times negative 6 is negative 12, plus 4x is negative 8x. And then that works. So the answer is D. Okay, not necessarily an easy problem. All right, number 12. For all x, 3x plus 4x minus 5 equals, so you're just foiling this out now. So 3x squared minus 15x plus 4x minus 20. So we get 3x squared minus 11x minus 20, and that gives us D as our answer. Okay, pretty easy. A family drove 180 miles to Disneyland. If they left at 10:30 and got there at 3, what was their average speed? So remember, speed is miles per hour. So if I said I went 180 miles, and how many hours did I go? Well, 10:30, 11:30. So go from 11:30 to 12, it's an hour and a half, plus another 3 more hours. So it's really 4.5. And if you divide that out, you get 40 miles per hour. Okay? Because again, that's our units on the bottom. That's hours. That's how many miles you went. Okay? So the answer is C. All right. In an election day with exactly 2 candidates, 373 votes were cast. If the winner's margin of victory was 87, how many did she receive? This is a tricky question because a lot of times people want to maybe subtract 373 minus 87. This is the way it's set up. I'm going to say X is the number of losers. Okay, so number of loser votes. So if I write X plus 87, do you guys agree that X plus 87, if X is the number of loser votes, then the winner votes is 87 more. So this is the winner's votes plus the loser's votes is going to equal 373. That's the setup for it. The winner's votes plus the loser's votes is 373. So I got 2x equals subtract 87, and I get 286, and divide by 2. So I get 143. Now there's the answer, 143, right here, math fans. Okay, but it says how many did the winner receive? That's the loser. Remember, we already defined it. So you're going to say that plus 87, which is 230. And that's not up here, so it's none of these. See, sometimes it is none of these. Okay? 3 times an angle's complement. So 3 times an angle's complement. Remember, a complement is 90 degrees. So it's 90 minus x. So 3 times an angle's complement is 20 degrees greater than its supplement, which is 180 minus x. Okay? And basically just distribute, so 270 minus 3x is equal to 20 plus 180 minus x. All right, so I'm going to move the 3x over, add 3x, so it gives me 2x over here. And that is this is 200. So I'm going to subtract 200, I get 70. Divide by 2, x is 35. Okay, so it's 35 degrees. Now this is a tricky problem too, in that I could, if I wanted to, I could ask, instead of what is the angle, I could say what is the complement, and then you would get 35, and you would say, oh, 90 minus 35. Okay? Or I could say, what's the supplement? You go, oh, 180 minus 35. All right, let's keep on rolling. Okay, so some more application, one more application, I guess one after that as well. Wendy has x plus 14 pencils, Tim has x plus 10 pencils, and Scott has x plus 6 pencils. All these pencils are put into 3 empty boxes that each box contains exactly Y pencils. So here's the deal, math fans. They all contain the same amount. Okay, they all contain Y pencils. So I'm going to write x plus 14 plus x plus 10 plus x plus 6. Okay, so if I add those together, I get 3x plus 30. All right, and they're divided into 3 equal parts. If you do that, you get x plus 10. Okay, so that's what it is. Y equals x plus 10. That's B. Okay. The next one says if 6a minus 4b equals 9, then negative 12a plus 8b. So in order to go from here to here, I multiplied by negative 2. Same thing with go from negative 4 to positive 8. I multiply by negative 2. So what we're going to do is, if you do that, you're going to multiply that by negative 2, and you get negative 18. Okay, and so then the answer is A. Alrighty. Number 18, the length of a rectangle is 5 more than twice its width. So length is, oh, by the way, they call the width x. That's goofy. Okay, it's twice the width plus 5. So 5 more. And I like to write 5 after that, because if I said it's 5 less, you don't want to write 5 minus x, you want to write x minus 5. Okay? Anyway, it says if the area of the rectangle is 42, so length times width is 42, what is the equation that can be used for x? Alright, so I'm just going to substitute this in. Oh, by the way, this is x here. And I'm going to say L, which is 2x plus 5, equals 42. Alright, and then I distribute. So I get 2x squared plus 5x equals 42. And I start to look for my answer up here. 2x squared, well, actually it's this one. Because if I subtract 42, I get this. And that's that answer. Okay? Not too bad. Okay, the sum of reciprocals of two numbers is 8/15, and the difference of their reciprocals is 2/15. What are the numbers? So this is kind of an interesting problem because it's not necessarily that easy to do. But one thing is, if I add the numbers together, they have to be they have to equal 8/15, which is pretty small. It's about a half. All right. And so if I think about it, if I take the reciprocal of 19 or 3/19, I get 19 thirds. Again, this is going to be about 1/2. So this is already way too big because I'm at 19 thirds. And what else is this? Is not good because this is 8/5. So that's out of there as well. Okay. And so what I want to do is, it's easy to check it. The sum of the reciprocal of the numbers. So if I type in my calculator 1/3 plus 1/5, all right, then I'll get, if I get a common denominator, and again, you can use your calculator button, but basically, that's 5/15 plus 3/15, which is 8/15. Okay, and there we go, 8/15. Voila. And the difference is 3/15 minus, or 5/15 minus 3/15, 2/15, which is right there. Okay, so that is my answer, is B. Sweet. That just kind of worked out nicely for us. Solving the systems, you guys should know how to do that. It's already set up an elimination method. The y cancels. We have 4x is equal to 16. Divide by 4, x is 4. Okay, and so again, that kind of eliminates this guy and this guy. And then I want to find out what y is, so it's 4 plus y equals 5. Subtract 4, I get y equals 1. Okay, so 4 and 1, which is A. Okay, number 3, write the expression as a fraction in its lowest term. So what you need to understand is that to the negative 1 is outside the parentheses, so it's 5x minus 15 to the positive 1. All right, and then the bottom I can factor out of 5, so negative 15 over 5x minus 3. So that cancels out with negative 3, so you wind up getting negative 3 over x minus 3. Okay, so that is going to be C. Okay, number 4, for all positive x and y, so this is you're taking out square roots. So I can take out a 4 times 6, so you guys agree a 2 comes out, and I've got a 6 left over. And then remember, x to the 9th is x to the 8th times x to the first. So I can call that x to the 4th times x, and y cubed is y and another y in here. Okay, and so if you look for that answer, we get A. All right, the next one, I to the 38th. If you guys remember, I to the 0, I to the 1, I to the 2, and I to the 3, they're all significant. I to the 0 is 0, or anything, I to the 0 is 1, sorry. Okay, anything in the power of 0 is 1. I to the first is I, and this one's just a special case. This is going to be negative 1, and then I cubed is these two multiplied together, so that gives me negative I. Okay, these are important because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take whatever number that I have, which in this case here is 38, and I'm going to divide it by 4, which gives me 9 remainder 2. And this is what I'm looking for, that remainder 2, all right, because that is going to tell us what our exponent is, and it's this guy right here. So it's I squared, which is negative 1. And that's your answer. Okay, not necessarily easy, but you know, if you didn't get this and maybe you learned it already, use your method. But if it's the first time you're seeing it, it's kind of hard to teach you the whole thing in just 45 minutes. Okay. Number 6, find the product. So remember, 3i times 3i is 9i squared minus 6i plus 15i minus 10. Okay, so this gives you negative 9, and you said plus 9i minus 10, and so negative 9 minus 10 is negative 19 plus 9i. Okay, so that one's going to be A. All right, so far so good. A few more here, math fans. Okay, what is the reciprocal of 3 plus I? So basically, you're going to do this, 1 over 3 plus I, and remember, how do you get rid of that radical there, which is really the square root of negative 1 is I multiplied by 3 minus I over 3 minus I, the conjugate. So you get 3 minus I on top. The bottom gives you 9 outside minus 3I, inside plus 3I, and last minus I squared. Okay? And then this is going to be plus 1 because I squared is negative 1. And so basically you get 3 minus I over 9 plus 1 is 10. And then the other numbers cancel, right? The 3i, negative 3i, and the positive 3i cancel. And so this, math fans, is your answer. Okay? And that gives us B. Okay. Okay, so number 8, for what value of k will the equation n squared plus 6n plus k equals 0 have only one distinct real solution? So what you have to kind of think of, math fans, is if you have, if it's a perfect square trinomial, right, so if I factor this, and let's say I got x plus 3 quantity squared equals 0. Do you guys agree that would just give me one answer? Okay, so what I'm going to do is, how do you make that a perfect square? Well, if it's 6n, then it's going to be, that's going to be a 9. Because think about it, if I did n squared plus 6n plus 9 equals 0, that would factor to n plus 3 quantity squared, which would give me one distinct solution. Okay, so it's basically, the way I did that is I did half of that squared. It's like completing the square. Half of 6 is 3, squared is 9. And so that's, my answer is 9. Okay? Okay, so number 9 is somewhat similar to number 8. Actually, but it's actually a little more complicated because now you have a leading coefficient of 4 in front there. And I think that makes it kind of challenging. But here's the deal. It's kind of the same idea in that it's going to be the same term quantity squared. So think about it. In order to get 4x squared, I have to have something like 2x, and this is a minus sign here, so it's going to be a minus and something squared. Okay? And I guess the thing that's a little challenging is you have to figure out, well, what will, let me put the wrong answer in here first. If I put a 4 in here, and I FOILed it out, so 2x minus 4. First of all, I get 16, which would be okay for k, that's fine. But think about it, if I FOIL it out the outside inside, that gives me negative 8 minus 8 is negative 16. So that doesn't work. I need to go actually to 3. And think about that. That gives me negative 6x minus 6x is negative 12x. It's perfect. Okay, and then that's going to be, this guy here is going to be what k is, which is plus 9. So that's my answer is D. Okay, it's a little tricky because you're looking for one solution where these have to be the exact same thing, and but it has to work out to give you that 4x squared. It has to add to give you that negative 12x. Okay. All right. Number 10. Find all zeros of the function x squared minus 5x plus 6. And that's pretty easy. It's just factoring, so it's x minus 3, x minus 2 equals 0. So x equals 3 and 2, which is D. That's an easy one. Okay, which of the following is a factor of 2x cubed minus 5x squared minus 6x plus 9? And I'm going to tell you there are two ways to do this problem. You can use polysymult, which is on your calculator, or you can also do synthetic division. Okay, I am not going to cover synthetic division here because that is truly an Algebra 2 topic. If you want to look through that, that's great. But basically, you're looking for numbers that divide into the 2 and the 5, negative 5, negative 6, and 9. But if you use your polysymult, basically you'll get solutions of 3, 1.5, and 1. All right, and that means it's x minus 3 or x minus 1.5 or x minus 1. All right, and the only one that works here is x minus 1, which is B. Okay? All right, so that's it for this week's review sheet. Lots of different kinds of problems. So hopefully I hit a couple of them that you didn't know, and you have figured it out now. All right? That's it, math fans. Good luck in the ACT, and we'll see you next week for week 3. Adios. Goodbye.